Part 1, The Ruins of a Forgotten War. The air was thick with the scent of rust and decay, a metallic tang that clung to the back of Captain Jace Veldon's throat as he moved through the skeletal remains of what had once been a thriving city. The war had ended 5 years ago, but its scars were still fresh, buildings reduced to jagged teeth of broken concrete, streets littered with the corpses of abandoned vehicles, and the ever-present silence that hung like a shroud over the ruins. Jace's boots crunched over shattered glass and twisted rebar, the sound echoing unnaturally loud in the emptiness. He wasn't here for nostalgia, he was here to scavenge, to find anything that might be worth trading for another week of rations or fuel for his battered transport. His pulse rifle, a relic from his days as a frontline soldier, was slung over his shoulder, more out of habit than necessity, though in these lawless ruins, necessity had a way of sneaking up on you. The scanner on his wrist flickered weakly, its damaged display barely functional, but it was enough to warn him of nearby movement. Not that there was much left alive in this graveyard of civilization, just the occasional feral drone or starving scavenger. But then, at the edge of his vision, he saw it, a flicker of blue light, soft and pulsating, coming from the mouth of a collapsed subway tunnel. It wasn't fire, wasn't electricity, it was something else. Something unnatural. His grip tightened on his rifle as he approached, his instincts screaming at him to turn back, to ignore whatever was down there. But curiosity, that old, dangerous companion, pulled him forward. The scanner showed no heat signatures, no signs of life, yet the glow persisted, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. And then, beneath a fallen beam, half buried in debris, he saw it, a small figure, curled into itself, its skin a pale, shimmering blue, veins of light tracing delicate patterns beneath the surface like constellations mapped across its body. For a second, Jace thought it was a corpse. Then its eyes, silver, reflective, impossibly bright, snapped open and locked onto his. "Are you a soldier?" the creature, no, the child, whispered, its voice like wind chimes, too melodic, too perfect to be human. Jace's finger twitched near the trigger of his rifle. He had seen things during the war, things that still haunted his dreams, but nothing like this. Nothing that spoke, nothing that looked at him with such eerie intelligence. "What are you?" he demanded, his voice rough from disuse. The child flinched, its glow dimming slightly as it curled tighter into itself. "Lost," it said simply, as if that explained everything. And just like that, Jace's world tilted. He had spent years hardening himself, shutting out anything that wasn't survival. But this was different. This was something that shouldn't exist, something that defied every law of the broken world he knew. And yet, as he stood there, rifle half raised, he realized with a sinking certainty that he couldn't just walk away. The ruins had given him one last mission. And for the first time in years, he wasn't sure if he was ready for it. Part 2, A Name in the Shadows. The child, who called itself Liren, refused to say where it came from, only that it had been hiding for days, maybe weeks, moving through the ruins like a ghost, avoiding what it called, the hunters. Jace didn't need details to understand what that meant. He had seen the wanted bulletins plastered across the few functioning comms hubs in the wastelands, vague descriptions of unidentified biological specimens, with rewards large enough to make even the most hardened scavengers salivate. Bounty collectors. Black market dealers. The kind of people who wouldn't think twice about dissecting something, no, someone, like Liren if it meant a payout. And yet, despite every instinct screaming at him to leave, to walk away before he got tangled in something he couldn't fight his way out of, Jace found himself crouching beside the child, his rifle lowered but still within reach, his voice gruff but quieter than usual, as if afraid to startle it. "You alone out here?" he asked, scanning the shadows beyond the subway tunnel entrance. Liren nodded, its glow pulsing faintly in the dim light, its silver eyes never leaving Jace's face. There was something unsettling about that gaze, too knowing, too old for such a small creature. "They took the others," it said softly, and the way it said it, so matter-of-fact, so resigned, sent a chill down Jace's spine. He didn't ask who they were. He didn't need to. For a long moment, silence stretched between them, broken only by the distant groan of shifting metal somewhere in the ruins. Jace exhaled sharply, running a hand through his dirt-streaked hair. This was a mistake. A huge mistake. But when he moved to stand, Liren's small, glowing hand shot out, gripping the frayed edge of his sleeve with surprising strength. "Please," it whispered, and there was something in that single word, something raw and desperate, that made Jace pause. He had heard that tone before, in the voices of soldiers begging for medics that would never come, in the cries of civilians trapped beneath rubble. It was the sound of someone who had run out of options. And then, as if sensing his hesitation, Liren did something unexpected. It pointed at the broken wrist communicator strapped to Jace's arm, a relic from his military days, its screen cracked, its power cell long dead. "I can fix that," it said, its voice suddenly brighter, almost eager. Before Jace could react, Liren reached out and pressed its fingertips against the device. A pulse of blue light flared beneath its skin, racing down its arm and into the communicator. The screen flickered once, twice, then lit up with a steady glow, the display scrolling through diagnostics too fast for Jace to follow. His breath caught in his throat. "How the hell did you?" he started, but Liren just smiled, a small, tired thing. "The stars told me," it said, as if that explained everything. Jace stared at the communicator, then back at Liren, his mind racing. This wasn't just some lost alien kid. This was something else. Something valuable. Something dangerous. And now, whether he liked it or not, he was responsible for it. The weight of that realization settled over him like a physical thing, heavy and inescapable. He had spent years surviving by staying invisible, by not drawing attention. But Liren? Liren was a beacon in the dark. And beacons, in Jace's experience, only ever drew one thing. Part 4, The Weight of Stars. The safe house wasn't much, just a crumbling pre-war bunker hidden beneath the skeleton of an old research facility, its entrance disguised by collapsed concrete and twisted rebar. Jace had found it years ago during the war's last bloody days, back when he still believed in things like fallback positions and tactical retreats. Now, with Liren slumped unconscious against his chest and the distant roar of hoverbikes echoing through the ruins, it was the only place left to run. He kicked open the rusted hatch, the metal shrieking in protest, and nearly fell down the ladder into the darkness below. His ribs screamed where the droid had struck him, his burned shoulder a constant, throbbing ache. Liren's small body radiated unnatural heat against him, the child's glow flickering erratically like a dying star. Whatever it had done to that Black Star Enforcer had drained it completely. The bunker's interior smelled of dust and stale air. Jace staggered to the makeshift cot in the corner, laying Liren down as gently as his shaking arms would allow. In the dim glow of a scavenged chemlight, the kid looked even more alien, its blue-veined skin nearly translucent, its breathing shallow. Jace pressed 2 fingers to its throat, searching for a pulse. What he found wasn't human, not a steady thrum, but a strange, rhythmic pulsing, like waves against a shore. "Damn it," he hissed, rummaging through his pack for the emergency medkit. His hands came away empty. No stims. No coagulants. Nothing meant for a human, let alone, whatever Liren was. A soft sound from the cot made him freeze. Liren's eyes fluttered open, their silver sheen dulled. "Hurts," it whispered. Jace swallowed hard. "Where?" Liren touched its own chest, just above its heart. "Everywhere. The stars are too loud." "Stars." Again with the stars. Jace exhaled sharply, dragging a hand through his sweat-damp hair. "Kid, I need you to focus. Can you tell me what you did back there? How you shut that droid down?" Liren's fingers twitched, tracing invisible patterns in the air. "I showed it the dark. The dark. Between the stars. Where the old things sleep." The child's voice took on an eerie, sing-song quality. "They don't like the singing. It makes them remember." A chill crawled down Jace's spine. He'd heard enough war stories to recognize coded language, soldiers babbling about lights and voices after one too many encounters with psionic weapons. But this wasn't battlefield delirium. Liren believed what it was saying. And worse, Jace was starting to believe it too. He reached for his canteen, only to find it empty. "Stay here," he ordered, grabbing his rifle. "There's a filtration tank in the next room. I'll get us some." Liren's hand shot out, gripping his wrist with surprising strength. "Don't go," it pleaded. "They're coming." As if on cue, the bunker's metal walls trembled. Dust sifted from the ceiling. Somewhere above, engines whined to a stop. Jace's pulse pounded in his ears. They'd been followed. He moved on instinct, killing the chemlight, shoving his pack under the cot, pressing a finger to Liren's lips. The child nodded, understanding. Its glow dimmed to near nothingness. Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Heavy. Methodical. More than one set. Then, voices. "Scan says it's here," a man growled. 50 meters and closing. "You sure this is worth it?" another replied. "That thing fried a Black Star unit. What's it gonna do to us?" A third voice cut in, colder than the others. "It's weak now. And the bounty's double if we bring it in alive." Jace's fingers tightened around his rifle. 3, maybe 4 hostiles. He could take them, maybe. But not without risking Liren. Not without. A whimper. Liren was shaking, its eyes screwed shut, its hands pressed over its ears. "Too loud," it gasped. "They're screaming." The footsteps stopped. "You hear that?" one of the hunters muttered. Jace didn't wait. He surged to his feet, rifle raised, just as the bunker door exploded inward. What happened next was a blur of gunfire and shouting. Jace took the first hunter in the chest, the second in the throat. The third got off a shot, a searing bolt that grazed Jace's temple, sending him crashing to his knees. Blood dripped into his eyes. The last hunter stepped over his fallen comrades, a wicked-looking shock baton humming in his grip. "Persistent bastard, aren't you?" he sneered. "Don't worry. We'll take good care of your little pet." Behind him, Liren sat up. Its eyes weren't silver anymore. They were black. "Jace," it said, and its voice wasn't a child's anymore. It was something vast. Something ancient. "Close your eyes." The world erupted in blue fire. When Jace could see again, the hunters were gone. Not dead. Not unconscious. Gone. The walls where they'd stood were scorched in strange, spiraling patterns, the metal warped as if by impossible heat. Liren collapsed. Jace caught it before it hit the floor, his hands trembling. The child's skin was ice-cold now, its glow barely a flicker. "I'm sorry," it whispered. "I didn't want to show you. But they were going to hurt you." Jace stared at the scorch marks. At the empty space where men had been. His mind struggled to process what he'd just seen. Liren wasn't just an experiment. It was a weapon. And someone had sent an army to get it back. Part 3, The Hunt Begins. The night was too quiet. Jace had spent enough years in the wastelands to know that silence wasn't peace, it was the calm before the storm. He crouched in the shadow of a collapsed overpass, Liren pressed close beside him, the child's glow deliberately dimmed to near invisibility. They had been moving for hours, sticking to the ruins' darkest corners, avoiding the open stretches where the moonlight would expose them. The communicator on Jace's wrist, now fully functional thanks to Liren's inexplicable abilities, buzzed softly with an incoming signal. He tapped it once, and a garbled transmission crackled through. "Last sighting near Sector 9, repeat, possible high-value target." Jace killed the feed. His jaw tightened. They were already being hunted. Liren shifted beside him, its silver eyes reflecting the faint starlight. "They're closer," it whispered, not as a question but as a fact. Jace didn't bother asking how the kid knew. Since they'd left the subway tunnel, Liren had somehow sensed things, approaching danger, hidden traps, even the distant rumble of engines minutes before they became audible. It was unsettling, like traveling with a living radar. "How many?" Jace muttered, checking the charge on his pulse rifle. Liren closed its eyes, its brow furrowing in concentration. The faint blue tracery beneath its skin pulsed once, twice. "3, it said finally. "No, 4. "1 is, different." Different. That could mean anything. Better armed. Better trained. Worse. Jace exhaled sharply. They couldn't keep running forever. His stash of supplies was back in his bolt hole near the old refinery, but reaching it meant crossing open ground. And if the hunters had scanners, which they undoubtedly did, they'd pick up Liren's energy signature the moment the kid stepped into the clear. "We need to lose them," he said, more to himself than to Liren. His mind raced through options. The sewers. Flooded. The underground transit lines. Too exposed. Then. A sound. Distant, but unmistakable. The crunch of boots on rubble. Jace's grip on his rifle turned white-knuckled. Too fast. They'd closed the distance too fast. He glanced at Liren, saw the fear in its eyes, and made a decision. "Stay behind me," he ordered, voice low. "No matter what happens, you don't let them see you glow. Understand?" Liren nodded. The first hunter emerged from the shadows 30 seconds later, a hulking figure in scavenged body armor, a modified plasma cutter slung across his back. The second and third fanned out to his left and right, their movements practiced, efficient. Professionals. Jace waited until they were almost on top of their position. Then he moved. The fight was brutal, chaotic. Jace's pulse rifle barked once, twice, dropping the first hunter before he could raise his weapon. The second lunged, knife flashing. Jace sidestepped, drove the butt of his rifle into the man's throat, felt cartilage crunch. The third got off a shot, a searing bolt of plasma that grazed Jace's shoulder, burning through fabric and flesh alike. He gritted his teeth, returned fire. The hunter went down. Silence again. Jace panted, adrenaline singing in his veins. Too easy. Where was the fourth? Then, movement. A shadow detaching itself from the ruins. Taller than the others. Sleeker. Not a scavenger. Not even human. The figure stepped into the moonlight, and Jace's blood turned to ice. Synthetic polymer skin. Glowing red optics. A Black Star Enforcer droid, one of the war's deadliest relics, programmed for one thing, retrieval of high-value targets. And it was staring right at Liren. "Run," Jace snarled. The droid moved faster than anything that size should. Jace barely got his rifle up in time. The pulse round sparked harmlessly off its chassis. A metal fist lashed out, caught him in the ribs. He heard something crack, felt the world spin as he hit the ground. Liren screamed. Then, light. Blinding, searing blue light erupted from the child's small form, washing over the droid. The machine staggered, its systems flickering. For a heartbeat, it froze. Then its optics dimmed. It collapsed. Jace stared, breathless. Liren stood trembling, its glow fading, its face streaked with tears. "I didn't mean to," it whispered. I didn't want it to hurt you." Jace pushed himself upright, wincing. He looked at the dead droid. Then at Liren. "Kid," he said hoarsely, "what the hell are you?" Liren's glow pulsed once, weakly. "I don't know," it admitted. "But they do." And in the distance, the sound of more engines growled to life.